Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Noelle and I review and unbox subscription boxes here on my channel. And today I have another book subscription to share with you that's been sent to me for review. It is the Down the Rabbit Hole book box once again. I say once again because I've opened many of these here on the channel, but just in case if this is your first time seeing it and you couldn't already tell from the box design and the name of the subscription, they feature darker reads in terms of mysteries, thrillers, horror, and that is definitely the case with this April box. So there's not always necessarily new reads. There's a lot of sort of classics, ones that were written 50, 60 years ago even, books that you may not have gotten around to, but a lot of them kind of notorious, and I think that is the case with this one. I honestly had not heard about the book for April. I almost wish I hadn't, because this was one of the darkest reads that I have read from Down the Rabbit Hole book box, and I, like I said, have been opening it for quite some time. I think I've gotten through about 2 years worth of their boxes, and this one will probably still give me nightmares. It is, of course, Let's Go Play at the Adams, a novel of lingering horror by Mendel W. Johnson. So I believe this is the original cover art, and yes, you can see a gal is all tied up, their lovely, innocent babysitter, Barbara. It's a very harrowing story, but let me tell you a little bit more about the subscription, and then I'll kind of warn you about the rest of this unboxing. So Down the Rabbit Hole book box is $49.99 per month. That does include domestic shipping. As you go along and you read the novel, you will come to pages that have a sticky note that tell you to open a corresponding gift that's meant to sort of bring the novel to life. What's really nice, I think, about this subscription is that you get items that are not necessarily so literal in terms of what's on the pages that you wouldn't want to use them, because again, what's on the pages of some of these books is just stuff that you don't want a tangible reminder of, but you'll probably see an example of that as we go through our gifts this time around. I'm very curious to see what some of the gifts will be, because I was actually able to read the book and I kind of held off from opening all of the gifts. So sometimes it's fun to kind of guess what it might be, and sometimes I absolutely have no idea. So it always comes with a nice brochure when there is the theme of the box. So for this one, it was, do you want to play a game? So they come out with the theme and hints first, and then you can actually ask if you really want to what the upcoming title is. If it's something you've already read or something you know you don't want to read, you can always skip, for example. And then there's actually reading discussion questions once everyone has received their box over on social media too. Now inside they always give us a nice sort of bio of the author if it's available. Now, like I said, this is kind of an older novel. I think it was printed in, published in 1974. Yeah, so let me just read to you this one because it is a little bit more about the book than necessarily the author. They're just kids. It's only a game. That's what Barbara, a lovely 20-year-old babysitter, told herself when she awoke bound and gagged. And that happens like very early on in the book. There's no spoilers there. But the knots were tight and painful, and the children would not let her go. In the decades since its original publication, Mendel W. Johnson's bestseller, Let's Go Play at the Adams, has gained a reputation as one of the most harrowing horror novels ever written, and copies have long been unattainable except at exorbitant prices. This edition reproduces the original paperback cover art and features a new introduction by Grady Hendrix, Paperbacks from Hell, in which details this cult masterpiece's enigmatic author are revealed for the first time. Now, I have not gone and read that introduction, but I definitely need to, because I need to know a little bit more backstory about this. So Mendel W. Johnson was born in Tulsa in 1928. But I need to know a little bit more about the backstory. This really reminded me a lot of Sylvia Likens' story, which we have read a novel that was based on her tragic story in terms of the really awful torture at the hands of sadistic children and how they sort of get into that mindset, and it's this group torture where the inevitable ending, you just keep seeing yourself getting closer and closer to it and sort of hoping for a magical interference to stave off that ending, and it's very disappointing. And it's very interesting because it's in third person, and you really do still at the same time get into the minds of all of the children. One of them is 17, so pretty close to being an adult, as well as poor Barbara, who is right on that cusp, right? So at times the children are like, she's almost one of us, and yet she's not. She's one of them. She's one of those adults, and everything that she represents, we're going to take out on this poor babysitter. So you really do, I mean, I really wanted to have some catharsis, some denouement, to have some justice for Barbara, and it just... spoiler alert, you guys, it doesn't come, and it is a rough ride. So we do get a nice bookmark. So this one again just says that same quote. They're just kids, it's only a game, but we have this really haunting image. Like, this is the kind of thing that you don't necessarily want people to find in your library unless it's in this novel. And then we also have an inspired playlist with a QR code, so that's kind of fun. This time around there were 5 gifts. So what I will be doing is I will actually read the passage associated with the gift and show you the gift. So if you have this and you don't want to find out what they are quite yet, I would go ahead and skip this unboxing for now. Again, very sensitive topics in terms of very sadistic actions on the part of these children that are done to this woman. She is definitely tortured, assaulted. So if that is something that you don't want to hear about, even in the lightest, I don't think any of the passages that I'm about to read are really intense in that way, but if it's not your kind of read, I totally understand. If you can get through it and listen to the unboxing, I would also truly appreciate it. So I do have a code for you if you are interested in these darker reads. If you enjoy this kind of subscription box where there's gifts to open along the way, it's Noel15. That will save you 15%. I'll leave all of that for you though in the description box below. All right, you guys. So the first gift came on page 24. So this one I did actually peek at. So I'm not really entirely sure how this gift relates to this passage, but I will still go ahead and read it. So they have already tied up poor Barbara. 2 of the kids that were the ones that were being babysat, and then the other kids go over to play at the Adams, because, yeah, that's their last name. So something about their steady, collective approach seemed to relieve Bobby. When they reached the edge of the garden, he deserted his place on the steps and ran to meet them, half tackling, half throwing himself at John. There was something like a ritual dance. Again, did you really do it? Yeah, really. Then they were all bobbing around, slapping backs and laughing, except for Diane, who at 17 plus stood an even one step aside. Barbara's in there right now. Wait till you see it. Was it hard, Paul said. It was really cool, Bobby said. Just like TV. I swear it must have taken me an hour just to get from the door to her bed. They all came along now, Bobby waving his hands and talking, Cindy jumping ahead like something on springs. She kept turning over and waking up and yawning and stuff like that. I was scared she was going to turn on the light or get up out of bed and step on me or something like that. Did you keep the chloroform in the bag just like I told you, Diane said. So now I get the reference. All right. So yes, Bobby and Cindy are the children, and they have tied up their babysitter because the dad is a doctor. So somehow they got their hands on chloroform, and they chloroformed the poor gal. So we have gift number 1. Here's our corresponding mailer bag. And he's saying that he was afraid that she was going to turn on the light. So we got this really cool thing. It's called a light panel for at nighttime reading, which I think I'll actually use quite a bit. I have like a little reading light, but I swear the batteries on it go really quickly. And I have the ones that clip onto your book, but I find that with paperbacks, for example, or if the book is kind of smaller like this one, it doesn't really work. So this is kind of a neat idea. It's a light panel LED, so it's a completely new way to use light for reading. So you basically, it shines light, but because it's on this panel of like plastic, it will like kind of illuminate the whole page. So it does take 3 AAA batteries. I didn't take the film off quite yet, but I will eventually. So when you're looking at it, let me see if I can show it to you. So you're looking at the page, and then it probably won't shine that much because it's daytime, but you turn on the light and you can see it's going to illuminate the whole page, which is kind of cool. So I thought that was a neat idea, and it's that's what it goes references, is the fact that he was afraid she was going to turn on the light. And I really wish she would have woken up. And at first I didn't realize why she hadn't woken up. I knew she like stole some liquor from the liquor cabinet, but it's because they chloroformed her, those nasty little brats. All right, our next gift came on page 80. So I feel like people are very polar in their reaction. If you like horror, like this is a classic probably. If you are not usually into horror and you like happy endings, this is not a book for you. So for gift number 2. All right, so they have her tied up and basically they just torture her all day. They'll untie her enough that she can make her way to the bathroom so that she can eat a little bit, but then they just like over tie her pretty much every single time. They take turns getting to play with her on their own. It gets really, really sick. So let's see. So now she's with John, who is the next oldest. And so of course he has some unfortunate designs on poor Barbara. Barbara turned and looked the other way, but said nothing. It was suddenly very quiet, to her at any rate. She expected any second for him to put the moves on her, grab her hair, pull at her gown. It could be anything, and she decided not to make a fuss. He was right. She couldn't stop him anyhow. Instead, however, she felt him take her wrist and pull it around behind her back of the chair again. "Give me your other hand." "Oh, John, no, please. Give it to me." "I don't want to. Please, it's early yet." "All right, then. Don't give it to me." "Ouch, ow, I will, but don't make it so tight. You're doing it worse than it was." "No, I'm not. But my hands are sore now." "I can't help it. Please stop. You can kiss me if you want to. I don't mind." He had begun tightening the rope around her body and the chair. When she spoke, he hesitated only a second and then went on with his work. Afterward and silently, he retied her ankles to the cornered legs of the chair, cinching up on them vengefully. So each of them has a moment of softness with her where they'll, take her gag out or want to give her extra food, or you can see them like, you can hear them like thinking like, what would happen if we let her go? And just none of them can make that jump into being gracious and merciful. Just they can't do it. So we got a pink jump rope. All right, so this is one of those things where like, okay, we got a jump rope. I mean, these kids have no shortage of actual rope that's constantly like cutting into her skin. I don't recall them ever having to use something makeshift like a rope because they have the entire house to their disposal. So it's a pink jump rope. I wish it wasn't pink because you guys know me, I'm just not a pink gal, so it would have been nice if it was a little bit more of a neutral color. But I think it kind of emphasizes like that sometimes as you're reading this book, you are astonished that these are children that are doing this to a grown woman. It is awful. Like, and I would never, I'm not like one for revenge, but you want revenge on behalf of Barbara. Like I want her to get saved and get to knock these children silly. But we got a pink jump rope, you guys. All right, so let's see what else we've got. All right, on page 116, let's see, 116. Let me see if I can remember what this is. Oh, so here's Paul. Paul is probably the most sadistic, evil little brat out of all of them, in my opinion. Let's see. During all this, of course, Paul was painfully aware of her naked breasts just below his arm, sometimes nearly touching it. He thought that somehow there was something sacred about a woman's breasts. It was one of the very reasons he had wanted her nightgown off, but he wasn't going to touch either of them, certainly not yet anyhow. Instead, when he had tired of his present game, he let the point of his knife trickle down between them to her navel and her pale white belly, where he pressed in just hard enough to make her wince and squirm. Then a new game began. Stick her here and make her twist that way. Stick her there and make her twist back again. This way, that way, harder. When he finally straightened up, it seemed that he had been holding his breath for 100 years. He let it out slowly and listened. The life of the house went on as usual. He could hear the other kids' voices somewhere, but they didn't seem to be caring. It was better than he'd dare think, and his turn at guarding wasn't half over. He looked at Barbara, the complicity of victim and tormentor, and he smiled. Much more slowly now, with much less fear. He began to test her whole body with his knife. He found that by keeping the blade flat and pressing it in on the point, he could leave a faint white line on her skin wherever he drew. He could make designs, even if they lasted but a moment. They were chanting in the cave now, by the flickering light of greasy animal oil torches stuck in the rocks. Paul prepared the victim for the final act. Even he trembled when he thought of it. So you can just see that there's this like regression, this like brutality that's coming out in him that's just being stoked by this unfortunate opportunity to guard her, which just means where they get to torment poor Barbara. So we got some interesting, okay, so we didn't get a knife, which was good. We got some knife earrings, you guys, which we've gotten knife earrings before. We've actually gotten some like butcher knife earrings before. These are kind of interesting though. So they came in a little plastic baggie. They're kind of like a matte black, and then they have blood all over them. So they're pretty dangly. I mean, you could hold on to these for Halloween for sure. These are pretty intense, but if you're someone who's a little bit dark, who likes your dark reads, maybe you go to a book club, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure when you would use knife earrings like this. They are definitely a statement. I kind of thought the gold cleavers were a little bit more like cheeky and doable. These are pretty blatant with that shiny blood on them. I don't know that I would wear these, but again, they could be great to save for Halloween. So, so we got some, they're very lightweight, I'll say that much. We have 2 more gifts to go. One was on page 163. Let's see. Oh, so here's where you have a little bit of hope for Barbara, because the kids have an account with the local grocer, and so Barbara is supposed to just call the grocer or go to the grocer when she needs stuff brought to the house. So that's what the kids do, and then they just pretend that Barbara's not available. But there's the man in the house who could save her, but he has no idea. So coming, almost trotting down the hall now, this is Diane, she saw from the first window that it was Tillman's delivery truck. Half a minute later, she was into and across the kitchen and opening the door for Mr. Tillman, who stood on the outside steps, holding one brown bag and balancing another on his knee while he banged on the screen. "I'm sorry, come in." "Thanks, Dee Dee." He came in awkwardly past her, a pungent mass of sweaty male skin, and put the bags down on the counter with a thud. Pulling a damp handkerchief from his pocket, he sponged off the back of his neck beneath the collar, his forehead and face. Refolding the cloth to find a dry spot, he finished by mopping under his chin. "Man, it's really ro'oit out there today, I'll tell you," he pronounced as ro'oit in the Eastern Shore manner. "What are you doing here today? Visiting? Where's the girl who ordered the groceries?" He hesitated over whether to call Barbara girl or woman. "Barbara!" Diane turned and shouted through the house. "Did you order any groceries for Mr. Tillman?" After a moment's silence, she turned. "She's in the bathroom." Here, Diane was a trifle private. "I guess she can't hear me." Meanwhile, she's like tied up in the bathroom, basically. So we have gift number 4. So, okay, so there are 3 things. So there are 3, and I'm not sure if they're handkerchiefs, but I think that they're probably reusable grocery bags. So let me open one up. So, because Mr. Tillman did use some handkerchiefs to wipe the sweat. He just seems like a greasy man, very ineffective for saving Barbara. And he goes ahead and lets Diane sign instead. So yes, it's a reusable, one of those like foldable grocery bags, which are very, very hard to ever get completely unwrinkled. But wow, we got a lot of them. So it kind of unfolds like this, and then it folds back into that pocket. Let's see if I can remember how. Okay. So this is what it looks like. So we have big handles. It's a pretty big grocery bag, you guys. So you just have to remember, sometimes it's nice, they'll have like a diagram on the, I like it when they have a diagram on the tag that helps you remember, but basically you fold it all into a column widthwise, and then fold it in on itself, and then turn it inside out back into the pocket. So, but yeah, when you use these, they're great for travel. They are great for groceries. They're not great for the photographs that I take of this box though, because they're really hard to get uncrinkled. So I might let them continue to stay folded. But we got a couple different patterns, so that's kind of fun. I don't think that their groceries came in such lovely patterns, but that's kind of a cool item. Very functional, see, and it didn't make the book seem too dark. All right, and then finally on page 228, we have our final gift. If you're still with me, thank you so much for staying. So this is towards the end. They're figuring out how they're finally going to get rid of poor Barbara. And this is John. He's getting ready for the evening. Afterward, he returned and took his father's chair in front of the TV and forced himself to wait through 2 more segments of the movie. When he sensed that things upstairs had settled for the night, he turned off the set and went and got his oilskin jacket with the hood. Like Bobby, he had made some preparations in stealth and under his parents' noses. He had a knife, a flashlight, a whistle in his pockets, and he too had a sandwich. He also had his own gun, a .22, in its gun case waiting for him under the house. He was as ready as any scared boy can be. So the reason they get away with all of this is because they have a plan to pin it on someone else. So basically on a migrant worker, which is also really terrible. So here is gift number 5. And we got a couple of them, actually. They are whistles in little bags. So let me open up one of them so that we can take a look at it. I'm not going to whistle on camera, but I think they almost look like bullets too, right? But it's just a whistle, so you would blow in the end. So this is like what the whistle that he had. Let's actually have whistle be our secret password for today. If you got this far, everyone, when you come across a secret password in one of my videos, you enter it along with your contact information in the Google form linked for you in the description box below. And at the end of the month, I will use a random number picker to select a few winners to receive a mystery box to say thank you for watching my videos. You have to be 18 years or older, subscribe to my channel, and you have to have a US or Canadian mailing address, not associated with YouTube or any of the boxes that I open here on the channel. Just my way of saying thank you for watching. The secret password for today is whistle. If you got through this unboxing, thank you so much. I would truly appreciate a thumbs up and a comment, and I will see you all very soon in my next unboxing. Let me know if you've read this book. It is a doozy.